Welcome to Diary of a Sheep Dairy Farmer, where we talk all things dairy sheep, from breeding to lambing to milking and everything in between and outside. I'm your host Becca, owner, operator, and glorified farmhand of Hidden Hollow Sheep Dairy. Welcome back to another day of dairy sheep. I want to talk today about lambing kits. Every sheep person has one if they have lambs. And every kit is different depending on the farm, the sheep, and the situation. I have things in my kit now that I did not have 11 years ago when I started out with sheep. And I use the term kit as a catch-all for basically all lambing supplies. I carry what I use every day for my lambs in basically an old horse grooming tote box thing. It's great for holding things I need on hand right in the lambing jug area. I can just take that from jug to jug to jug, or grab it on the go as I need. What I keep in that tote are my supplies for when the lambs are in the jugs. I keep my tags, red for girls, blue for boys, and a marker to write mom's number on the tags, and the tagger to insert tags into the lamb's ears. I know a lot of sheep farmers that will spray paint matching numbers on mom and lamb, but that's really just never worked for me. So I just go with the tagging system that I've used basically since I started lambing 11-ish years ago. I have syringes and needles for vaccines that I give my lambs and use once they come out of the jugs. We use an 8-way, and as long as it has the CDT in it, that's all I really care about. And I do deworm RUs. They get dewormed yearly at lambing. And I know deworming is controversial. Everyone says not to do it unless the sheep need it because they build up a resistance. But my sheep don't have worms, so I'll just keep doing what I'm doing since it seems to work. Medicine stays in the fridge, so it's not technically in my tote, but close enough. I can throw it in there and move it as needed. I keep a few extra RFID tags in case someone lost one in the trees or fencing out back, but most of them stay in the tack room supply closet. Now I tag at weaning rather than at lambing with my RFID tags, so I don't carry the whole bundle in my tote anymore, which has made my life much easier. It's not a fight anymore at lambing. And that has made both my life and my sheep's life much easier. I do have a few standard things like scissors, scalpel, thermometer to check temperatures, a scale and harness for weights that I used to be really, really good at remembering to do. And I've fallen out of routine for doing that the past couple of years. I really need to start again. I have this mental block when it comes to weighing lambs that I forget about it. I don't know why. I give them their medicine, I tag them, and I let mom and lambs out, and then I realize I never weighed them. I just need to get better at remembering. Let's see, I keep rubber rings for banding. Those are in my tote, as well as the ring expander, and my tattooing supplies. I used to tattoo all of my lambs. I have numbers and letters in 5/16 inch stone. I think they're stone letters and numbers, and then pliers, and we use green paint. And I told my husband I was going to start doing that again this year, and then I changed my mind. I think I am going to, once I make my final decision on who I'm keeping, and then those will be the ones that at weaning I will go ahead and tattoo them and put their permanent RFID tag in, because that's usually when I kind of decide who exactly I'm going to keep as my replacements, rather than just when they're born, unless I already know that they come from an excellent line of milkers and breeding lines, and I already know before they're even born that if it's a girl, I'm keeping it. Okay, I also keep an ear notcher in the shape of the letter M. We used to use this to distinguish our sheep from our renter's sheep when we ran the flocks together, but since it is now just me, I use it to mark which of the ewe lambs I am keeping so my husband knows who not to sell. I keep a couple sets of black and blue nitrile gloves, whatever we have on hand, and a set or two of shoulder length gloves round out what is in my lambing tote kit on a daily basis. Other things I use during lambing but that don't stay in my kit for various reasons: colostrum, lamb replacer, and electrolytes. These stay in the shop where there's hot water for easy mixing. I don't have hot water in my barn, so those stay in the shop. I also keep my bottles and nipples in the shop so that they're easy reach when I need them. And I keep a portable blender in the shop as well to mix my milk and colostrum. That thing has been a godsend. It is my favorite tool for making non-clumpy milk. Anything that needs refrigerated stays in the shop as well, such as my 8-way, my dewormer, penicillin, LA200, things we give our sheep that are not labeled for sheep, but we've been doing this long enough to know doses and what will work with our sheep. But I cannot tell you what those are because they are not labeled for sheep and I don't want to get into trouble. When you aren't blessed to have a sheep vet around, you learn by trial and error and hope for the best. In the 11 years that we have had sheep and the 9 years since we no longer have a sheep vet, we have learned a lot on our own. I keep most of my lambing supplies in our tack room in my sheep closet. This is where I have my extra RFID tags, my vet supplies, which include vet wrap, gauze pads, splints, and such. Corid for the 2, or was it 3 horrible years we had fought coccidiosis in our barn. Now I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 years. I just had this conversation with a friend of mine. This is why I don't lie, because I can't remember the truth. So lying is out for me because I can't remember. Yeah, don't get concussions. They really mess with your brain. I think it was 2 that we had 2 years. Was it 2000? And anyway, not going to try and remember. But we went through a few years where we had coccidiosis in our barn. So we were treating lambs with Corid. So I keep that in the lambing closet, or in my sheep closet with my lambing supplies, just in case I still need it. I can safely say that we have gone 3 rounds, maybe 4, lambing groups where we never had a single case of coccidiosis. So I want to say we have eradicated it from our barn, but don't hold me to it. Okay, I also keep bulk syringes, needles, and gloves are in the closet, and lube for either use with cedars or if I have to pull a lamb. I have heat lamps, bulbs, lots of extra bulbs are stored in the tack room. And this past week, I have definitely needed the heat lamps more than I figured I would. I was not expecting a snowstorm in the middle of February. That is January weather. But can't predict everything, and we had a terrible snowstorm, and it just freezing temperatures and just not what I was expecting. I keep a Prolapse harness just in case. I've never had good luck with them staying in, and thankfully only had to use this one a couple times. I also have a small, basically it's a whelping box from when we had our mini dachshunds, and I have repurposed it into a warming bed for cold lambs. I keep a heat pad with it, blankets, and a small dog bed that will fit under the heat pad. I also have a resuscitator and a stomach tuber. And that about rounds it out for my lambing supplies. At least what I can remember. So what have I added that is new this year? Honestly, not a whole lot. Just 4 things. The first being Dextrose. I don't know why I have been so stubborn about getting this. I think part of it is that I have never been a follow the trends, follow the crowd, everybody else is doing it, you should too type person. The more people tell me I need to be doing something, the less likely I am to do it. I haven't felt the need to get Dextrose or to use it until the other day. So last week, during the cold snap we had, I had a lamb born early. Her due date was February 18th. She was born February 12th. So not terribly early, but early enough that it definitely made a difference. I watched her mom lay down and told myself I had time to run to the house to refill my coffee. And it was cold that day. It was 1 degree. That's Fahrenheit, which would be negative 17 Celsius. I watched as I warmed up my coffee as she had the lamb. It kicked its legs, it shook its head, but it would never stand. I grabbed my warmish coffee at this point and raced back to the barn. Mom got one side almost licked clean. I grabbed that lamb and it was a limp doll. Small, cold, and lethargic. I got them into a jug and immediately got the lamb in the warming bed. Heat above, below, and wrapped in a blanket. After about 4 hours and no change other than she was warming up her outside of her body, but not really the inside, I texted my husband to have him get me some Dextrose from the vet. An hour later, her temperature finally was up and she had a sucking reflex. And she drank, not tubed, but drank 2 ounces of colostrum. Spoiler alert, sometime between 7 and 10 p.m., she died. I was devastated. I thought she had made a turn for the better. But when I went to give her 10 o'clock feeding, she was dead. So now it is part of my lambing supplies to be part of the first resort, not the last. The second thing that I've added to my supply list is a suture kit. I have all the ointments and creams to put on cuts and wounds. Tapes, gauzes, splints and wraps to deal with breaks and whatnot. But what I did not have was a needle, thread, ribbon, twine of some sort. Last week, I'm telling you, last week was a bad week. I had a first for our farm. A lamb was born with his intestines coming out. 11 years of lambing, and this is the first time, and I hope to God, please Lord, let this be the last time that this ever happened. Even with my husband's help, we were unable to save the lamb, but I realized a suture kit was a necessity. Had I had one on hand, it might have made a difference or not. I am all about transparency, and when I tell you I spent the better part of that afternoon once he had been born trying to save 3 other lambs and literally forgot about him, I'm not joking. I saw the issue, put him in with his mom and brother, and told myself I would get back to him as soon as I got the other 3 lambs nursing. I watched him nurse. I wasn't worried. It was below freezing that day. I think it was like, maybe we were sitting at 0, maybe 1 or 2 degrees. Honestly, I can't remember. I just know that I had lambs that would not get onto their moms. I was doing everything I could to get them enough colostrum, get them onto moms to keep them alive. And he literally slipped my mind until I made the rounds to see who else needed assistance. I could have kicked myself. Talk about being stupid. I did my best. I could not get his intestines back into him. Called my husband. I'm like, I messed up. I left this lamb. He should have been my first. I left him till last. I screwed up. My husband said, I'll take care of him. Just get him to the house. I trust my husband's judgment. He came home with needles, thread, and a calmer mind than I had. But unfortunately, nothing we did worked. We worked on him for over an hour, and we eventually had to put him down. I am still not over this one. The third thing I've added this year, which I am still waiting for, it and the fourth thing to get here, is a Brix refractor for measuring the colostrum of my ewes to basically see the percentages the lambs are getting and who is making the best colostrum. I want to know who I should be saving colostrum from and who may need supplemented if mom isn't making good colostrum. And the fourth thing is more of a replacement item than a new item. It's an utterly easy hand milker for sheep. I had one before that came to me broken, and even after we ordered new parts and tried to repair it, it never really worked right. And so this is not to replace milking my sheep in the milking barn with my milk machine system, but to use when needed in the jugs. If I need to milk a ewe for a lamb that isn't figuring it out, or milk out colostrum from a ewe to save later if her lamb dies, or if she has an excess amount that I can save for other lambs, it's basically to save a little work for my hands. So sometimes, no matter how hard you try or wish or pray, your best efforts aren't enough. You can do all the planning, have all the fancy supplies, newest toys, gadgets, and it won't be exactly what you need for every situation. Every lambing season is a learning experience. No lambing season goes according to plan. So what do you have in your lambing supplies? What is something that you have that you swear by, that you will always have no matter what? What do you have that I don't have? Let me know in the comments. Okay, guys. As always, I appreciate you all being here and thank you for your support. I would be ever so grateful if you would leave a review or share this podcast with your dairy sheep loving friends. Anything to get the word out. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at Diary of a Sheep Dairy Farmer. And if you want to follow the chaos around the farm, you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Hidden Hollow Sheep Dairy. If there are any topics you are interested in, or if you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. You can reach out to me at hiddenhollowIdaho@gmail.com. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll talk to you again next week.